this morning, we are joined by constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst Liborous Oshoma to unpack all of these issues, to examine whether Nigeria's democratic institutions are holding up under the weight of today's political realities. Good morning to you, Mr. Liborous. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again. Welcome to the morning edition.
Thank you. Good morning, too. And I'm glad to be here.
All right. Let's kickstart the conversation. I mean, when you take a look at Nigeria's democracy today, would you say our institutions are becoming stronger than the politicians who occupy them? Or do we have institutions who are still too dependent on the personalities in power? And I mean, I have a lot of examples I could cite, but take it away from there.
The question is, our democracy is built on people and not on institutions. So it's not, we are still very far from having institutions that would outlive or that will work independent of the people in government. That's why you hear common language like body language in this climb. Depending on the body leaning of the president, even if he might not be aware, everybody just wants to kowtow to the whims and caprices because psychophancy is highly rewarded here. Political patronage is also highly rewarded here, to the detriment of, institutions and hard work. And that's why you find out that because also politics pays a lot. Politics is the highest paying job in Nigeria. And that's why when people see you, no matter how hardworking you are, they believe that you have done enough and that you should be given appointment. Given appointment in the sense that not for you to make things better, but for you to go and also at least have a slice of the cake. And that's why in some cases, when you are a critic and they say, okay, let him be compensated with appointment so that he can keep quiet. And so that's how we, rather than build institution, we are building stronger people. And another word you hear most times is, do you know who I am? Because the do you know who I am mentality also enhances personality rather than institution. You hear the moment a man who ordinarily, couldn't afford 3 square meals, now he's working in government, he has siren blaring, police pilots, and then he has drivers and cooks, and he goes for medicals abroad, and his wife and children also enjoy the perks of office, and suddenly he can do no wrong. The moment you question him, you hear that, oh, do you know who I am? Can you be a governor? Do you know what it takes to be a governor? But meanwhile, in the real sense, he's supposed to serve the people. That institution of his office that he occupies is supposed to be serving the people because constitutionally, the essence of government is the security and welfare of the people. But unfortunately, the same people have mortgaged their responsibility that they now elevate the person occupying that office above the office. So the person assumes a larger-than-life image of himself. So I really cannot tell you that our institutions have come of age. Look at what happened yesterday. The EFCC took the step to freeze the account of Osun State Government. That they were under investigation. Immediately it happened. Because here we do not respect institutions. Politics was read into it. Oh, yes. Oh, why would they do this? Why is it now that it's Osho election? Whether you like it or not, certainly it might have political undertone. But the question nobody asks is, truly, the EFCC had said there are allegations of corruption and undue withdrawal from that particular account. Nobody asked that question, nobody. And so the next thing is, the president felt embarrassed and ordered EFCC to go back and undo what you have done and don't anything that you were doing in that regard, don't do it again. The question you now ask, by virtue of Section 34, subsection 1 of the EFCC Act, can the president so order them? And the president now boxed himself into a cul-de-sac because people will now be asking, okay, does that mean anybody that EFCC is investigating the president can call them and say, don't investigate that person. So is that why Senator Adams Oshomole once said that if you are in with the broom, your sins have been swept away? You know, so there are so many examples. Examples abound right from this Third or Fourth Republic, where, right, even Obasanjo, if you remember, even during Obasanjo's time, if you remember, when, what do you call it, EFCC was seen as an attack dog for the opposition. When governors would only be investigated when they are in opposition. When also we've seen NNPC probe, you expect that people will be invited from NNPC by the National Assembly. But unfortunately, these same people who had worked in government institution, had decided not to honor those invitations, because also the institution of the National Assembly have so mortgaged itself to these people that the respect is no longer there. So imagine the Congress or the Parliament inviting a minister or a member or a worker in government institution in where we copied this democracy from. And that person dare not. But here, you can, depend on how close you are to the powers that be, you can decide not to. And that's why also we say kitchen cabinets, juicy appointment, because the more juicy that appointment is, the more respected and the more stronger that person who occupies that office is, and not the office in itself.
Mr. Liborous, you know, these are very serious issues. And the fact that our institutions are not serving the people the way that they ought to. For instance, the issue that you just mentioned about, you know, the EFCC freezing the account of the Osun State Government, and then the president stepping in to order them to unfreeze it. There was also another case, you know, where we had the National Assembly, House of Reps, you know, trying to gave an order, in fact, let me put it like that, to the police to produce the controversial DG. And then their response was they would need to, in fact, get a court order, some sort of reproduction warrants to make that happen. Now, when you see institutions not being able to do what they're supposed to do, help us understand where it has gone wrong. Is it a function of the people not calling them to account? Is it a function of the kind of politics that we play? Or does it even boil down to how the Constitution has been structured, where, you know, we have institutions who are clashing with what, you know, each person should do?
No, there are no clashes in as far as the law is concerned. They can overlap. There are checks and balances. The National Assembly, for example, we know, make the law. The police, for example, is a creation of the National Assembly. So, and by virtue of Section 88 of the 1999 Constitution, the National Assembly also enjoys quasi-judicial function. And so, by virtue of that, they can investigate matters. They can sit as a quasi-judicial panel. And they act like, in that instance, they act like a court. So you cannot say, for example, that you need a court order to produce somebody before a court. The order of the National Assembly to produce that person in your custody is enough, provided is an investigation that the National Assembly is empowered to conduct. That's on one side. On the issue of, is it the people, like you can say, where does the problem lies? Is it with the barber, the hair, or the clipper? In this case, you know, it's a mix of all. The people, for example, do not understand what democracy is all about. They feel democracy is government of the people, for the government of the leaders, by the people, and for the leaders. So the people are the ones who will elect the leaders, and these leaders are for themselves. And so when they step down from their high horse to extend largesse to the people are happy. And then these leaders will tell them, oh, why don't you celebrate me for providing these things for you, because ordinarily they are not meant for you. But I am so magnanimous that I've decided to provide them for you. I've given you roads. I've given you pipe-borne water. In fact, I bought vehicles for your police. So I should at least get a thank you. I waste my time, working for you people. I should get a thank you. If the people understand the way democracy works, they will tell that leader, shut up. You should be thanking us for not calling you to order because this money belongs to us. We have told you to do A, B, C, D, E, F. You only did A and B, and you're asking us to thank you. Meanwhile, you came to beg us for this job. You pleaded, you knelt down for us to employ you. It's just like you walking up to your MD, walking up to your chairman and telling him, no, please, you need to thank me. I take the news every day. And, so that's the kind of democracy that we operate, where people that we employ are the ones chasing us away from the roads, are the ones that are telling us to thank them for doing what they ordinarily ought to do, a far cry from what they should do. So rather than learn how to hold them to account, on election day, they come from the ones that they have taken so much from the purse. They come back to us and say, oh, you take a little. I've taken so much, but I didn't take. But I'm magnanimous. I'm giving you just a little. You hold this little. Please bring me back to office. I tie a few roads for you. I bought vehicles for your police. I paid salaries. Do you know how funny it is that payment of salaries is now a tool for campaign? Because the people have lost their sense of responsibility. They've lost their sense of accountability to learn to hold government accountable. If you consistently hold government accountable using various tools, using protest, using lobby, raising up your voices, the government also will understand that now the people know what it is to operate a democracy. It's just like yesterday. I know, if not for the shouts and the hue and cry from the people, the president, even though I still thought that his intervention, he probably, definitely wouldn't have,
So you believe the freezing of the account should have still stood?
Yes, I believe so. And I believe that it should be extended across board. All states, whether APC, PDP states, ABGA, Accord, Labour, all of them. The question we should be asking, like Chief Gani Fahimi had consistently asked in his lifetime, God rest his soul, is did these allegations, did they just spring up, or are there truths in this allegation levied against you? Does the agency have the power to investigate you? Let's look at the issues. What are these issues? The agency said, well, these accounts for a month at least, out of the more than 30 accounts belonging to the state, one was frozen. Then we're looking at the time. Yes, no matter how you look at it, because of politics. Also, no matter how we look at it, the governors spend state funds for re-election, just the way the president spent state funds for re-election. So are we saying that the agency should not be proactive? And so the agency says, well, this account, out of more than 30 accounts that the government has, this Jack account, at least it gets at least 5 withdrawals a day. 5 withdrawals in a month. And between 2nd of August and 5th of August, it's getting about 20 withdrawals. Then there must be a question. So by virtue of Section 34 that I cited before, they wrote to the bank and say, please, PND this account pending 72 hours. Quickly, pending 72 hours. Because they have 72 hours in a case of emergency to produce a court order. If within 72 hours a court order is not produced, then certainly the bank will unfreeze that account. So within that 72 hours, Nigerians, just the same way we like, hyping the underdog. Oh,
but Mr. Liborous, there are those who are saying that all of this that you have raised now to say, yes, the EFCC has the right to do this and that, they could have done it after the election.
So, okay.
And they will still be seen as doing their job.
No, if they do it after the election, the money would have gone because the allegations that some of this money found their way into crypto wallets. So then we will come around again to blame EFCC to say, why were they not proactive? Why did they wait for until the money was lost before they started arresting people? Why didn't you PMD the account? Why didn't you do all of that? Why didn't you stop the withdrawal? So look, let me tell you, do we actually want to fight corruption or we just mount the fight against corruption? Because if the agency is proactive, we say, why are they proactive? If they are retroactive, we say, oh, why are they retroactive? They had opportunity to be proactive. For me here, it should be extended across board, including the presidency. There are certain accounts, once elections are around the corner, they should be investigated. Because these agencies are supposed to be independent. We're talking about independent agency. I was watching a documentary on American presidents, and Barack Obama's president then was to do something. And the security detail told him, sir, I will not obey that order because it is contrary to my position or to instructions, my training. And the president said, do you know I am the president? He said, yes, I know, but I'm working for the American people and not for the president. So he's detailed to protect the president for the American people. So these agencies are detailed to protect Nigerians against these officials so as not to encourage corruption. But when we now say, oh, it's happening during election, but we forget the fact that governors also use state resources to do election. Why all of a sudden you're having more than 20 withdrawals in 5 days in an account where you ordinarily do like 5 withdrawals in 20 days? Why? Nobody's asking those questions. And we say it's an embarrassment. Oh, that the institution, the state, the EFCC cannot investigate state agencies. No, the Supreme Court had consistently ruled that EFCC had the powers to investigate anybody. By virtue of Section 38 of their act, they have the powers to investigate anybody. The Supreme Court ruled in 2002. Then also another ruling again in 2023, just recently, when 16 governors approached the Supreme Court, led by the Kogi State Government, requesting for a restraining order to stop EFCC from investigating state resources on the ground that it is a federal agency and to respect federalism. And the Supreme Court said no. Also, in the Ekiti, just before the Ekiti state election, EFCC froze the account of the Ekiti State Government. Firemi went to court. Remember, the matter is, the Court of Appeal just gave a judgment recently and the matter had gone to the Supreme Court. So why didn't we shout? You know, it happened in Edo also, just before the election. If not, the 16 billion that Okpewolo meant in the purse, in the coffers of the government, probably will not be there because they will fritter everything away, and then EFCC will not be inviting and writing statements and attempting to prosecute
Mr. Liborous, we have just a couple of moments before we let you go. I want you to speak on the issue of the opposition, because for some of the issues that you're raising, the opposition is supposed to serve as a check to the government and to some of these institutions. I mean, it's amusing, but that's the truth. What do you make of the opposition that we have at the moment? I mean, they seem heavily fragmented. Just a couple of months before the elections, are we slowly? Sorry?
It's intentional.
From whose side?
From the opposition itself. It's selfishness, conventional, because we play politics of it must be me. It must be me. Look at this government, certainly. You say, oh, Bola Tinubu has a lot of political acolyte, political protege. But just like in other societies, even Buhari, who can you point to and say this person would be a natural successor to whoever we have as political leaders? In the time of Awolowo and Zik and Sardauna, you could point to people that they have mentored, their mentees. But today, it must be politics of self. Atiku at almost 80 is still on the ballot. Because according to Mo Ibrahim, he said African leaders would want to die as leaders rather than allowing their children, by children now I mean the young ones coming behind them, to lead. And so What you have now is the politics of it must be me. I must be the one on the ballot. And so the ruling party is also very happy because the more fragmented they are, the more the ruling party will gain traction.
You don't think some of those fragmentations are engineered by the ruling party?
If you are that because it is politics of self. If you are not selfish, nobody will engineer you. If you are not selfish, nobody will tell you you can go the whole hog. You will know, you understand your limitations. So you will know that, no, look, I can't do this alone. I need to bind. I need to come together. I need to create synergy. But when they come to whisper in your ear, Liborous, you can go it alone. Liborous, you can be president. Don't worry, just go. And then they begin to push you. And then you tell people what they want to hear. And nobody is bothered to ask you the house. And do you know why sometimes their words and action are not taken seriously? Because they are all from the same pool. Some of them were governors, some of them were vice presidents. And, so the question is, people are always going to look back and say, when you were there, how did you do it differently? Did you actually do it differently, or these are just rhetorics? I tell you, Bola Tinubu, as opposition leader, condemned everything he's doing today. As opposition leader, everything that government did, he condemned. But today he's in government, he's doing the reverse of what he once condemned. So people are going to look back and say, look, wait a minute. When these people are in opposition, they talk tough, they talk sweet. Are they really, truly intending to change things when they get into power? Okay, when they were governors, how did they do it differently? When they were vice president, how did they do it differently? So people are going to look all of these things and say, no, we're on our own. That's why my belief is that the people are the ones in opposition and not the opposition political parties. Because Wike once said something. He said, during ministerial appointments, I challenge every governor in opposition that did not nominate somebody. So you now begin to ask yourself, wait a minute here. So you mean all of you nominate us? So that means it is government of we. Also, lastly, on this same issue, as we speak, people rode on the back of, oh yes, we're going to do things differently, to the National Assembly. And they got there, the first thing they did was to accept vehicles just the same way like those people they want to, take over from. So at the end, it is the people that are in opposition. That is why the opposition cannot even speak with confidence, except when they want to deceive people or at campaign rallies.
In the midst of all this, because you've talked about how we can change things going forward, is there a single institutional reform that you can recommend that will strengthen our democracy ahead of the elections in 2027? I mean, also for future generations, not just in view of the elections.
Every local government in Nigeria should have an orientation agency.
We have the National Orientation Agency.
How functional is it? When last did you hear from them? When was the last time did you hear from them? And those orientation agencies should start from orientating the mind of those in government. And then also people will begin to follow. Lagos State, for example, people never used to pay taxes. But when Fashola came and people saw what he was doing with the money, artisans started volunteering to pay taxes. And that's how you stimulate, mindset. Today, people will tell you, why will I pay tax when they want the money that belongs to all of us? Government is wasting it. So you need to change the mindset of leaders and would-be leaders, because our leaders are drawn from amongst us. So a man an electrician you invited to your house, who for wires of 5 million, he over-invoiced it to 10 million. Why do you think that if he becomes a councillor, he will not be over-invoicing a document and be padding budget? Because he's used to it. He believes that now, like they say in the north, goody government, that means government money. Government money belongs to all of us. We can take it as we like. But we forget that government money actually is meant to make life easy for the people. So we need a massive orientation.
That's such a profound way to leave it this morning. Thank you so much, Liborous Oshoma, constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, for your insights on the program this morning. I want to thank you so very much for your time.
My pleasure, always.
All right. Well, strong institutions remain the foundation of every successful democracy, and while political leaders will come and go, it is the credibility of the institutions they leave behind that ultimately determines whether democracy continues to flourish or falter. And I mean, very profound recommendation from Liborous Oshoma this morning to say every local government should have their own orientation agency.